Hey guys, before I get into this Gen 9 upgrade video, I just have to say the kit that I got had some issues, and I point this out in the video. After I made the video, I got in contact with GelBallMod and let them know, and as a result of that, they've taken this kit off the shelf for the moment until they can confirm that all the parts are correct. So if you did buy one of these kits before watching this video and you found some parts that were incorrect, just get into contact with GelBallMod so that they can fix it up for you. Alright. Hey guys, welcome to Loguido's Chop Shop, and today we are going to be looking at the Gen 9 M4A1 and doing upgrades. This kit here has come to us from gelballmod.com, so I'm going to be installing this upgrade kit into that blaster. Alright, so I'll just have a look at what the kit comes with here. It's got the aluminium barrel, the Gen 9 specific T-piece, a spring retainer with a bearing, plunger, metal ladder gears, aluminium cylinder, a double O-ring nozzle, and whatever that bit's called, I forget. Upgraded motor. I'm not quite sure what the specs on this motor are. It doesn't have any markings on it, but it does have this cool little thing. This is the piece where it mounts into the bottom of the pistol grip, and it's got a spun bearing in there, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you can see that, but it does have a little ball bearing in there, so that when you put that on the shaft, it can spin nice and easily. It's aluminium as well. I have not seen one of those exactly like that before. Speaking of bearings, we've got a full set of bearings for the gearbox case, steel gears for the gearbox, a metal trigger assembly, oil, and a metal tappet plate. Now, I've had varying degrees of success with this metal tappet plate, so I'm not even sure that I'm going to install that. I might just use the stock tappet plate because I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with the stock one. They did also give me a bag of screws, which I'm not sure what those are for, because I should have the screws in the standard gearbox. So extras, I guess, in case you lose some, probably pretty handy. What they did not provide is shims. And I am not in the chop shop today. I'm actually somewhere else. But we ducked down to a few of the local stores to try and find some shims to shim this gearbox up. And I think, who was it?
Tac Toys and Command Elite Hobby.
Tac Toys and Command Elite came through with shims for us, so good on those guys, because we needed them today. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to shoot this video, which is good. It would have been nice if the shims had come in the kit, but unfortunately the shims aren't provided in the kit, so everything else here comes in the kit. Shims got to provide separately, and I know these are going to require shimming in the gearbox. Alright, so without talking for too much longer, let's get into the standard Gen 9. Okay, just before we start any modifications, I'm just going to get a baseline of the standard Gen 9, the particular one that I've got here with this particular chrono. Let's see what we got. 235. This one's actually pretty cool because it actually measures, like, it does a history of all the shots. So those last three shots, 240, 222, and 234. I think that's enough testing in that department. Let's get to the mods. Alright, so I'm just going to start disassembling this Gen 9. Start by taking the stock off the buffer tube, disconnecting the battery, just going to unscrew. Actually, I'm not even going to bother with that because I'm going to split the receiver. So I'm going to undo these two drop pins here. That one and this one. Once you've got those two pins out, the whole top receiver just slides forward a smidge and then comes upwards and splits like that. Set that top half of the receiver aside, and then we're going to look at this bottom part. Alright, just going to drop that out of the way and then remove this little screw from the mag release. Okay, just going to pop that out. Then we're going to undo this Phillips number 1 from the mag release. Pull that spring out, set that aside. Next thing we've got to do is remove this pin here. Now I'm going to use just a small Allen key. I'm just going to push that through and then pop that out. I'm just going to remove this buffer tube, and I do so with a long Phillips head screwdriver straight down the center of here. Now I'm going to remove the motor retaining plate, these two Phillips head, why do I keep calling them Phillips head? They're Allen. It's two Allen screws. They are a 2mm Allen for what it's worth. Now it helps when you're doing this to hold on to the bottom plate as you're undoing the screws, because the motor is sprung, it may pop out. Take the motor wires off and pull the motor out. Once your motor's removed, there is 4 of the 2mm Allen head screws down in the bottom there that you just have to get a long screwdriver with a 2mm Allen head in there and just undo them all. Alright, so once you've got all your 4 screws undone there, the pistol grip will just come off. And now your gearbox should be relatively free to come out of the lower receiver. So you should be able to just push it up in this direction and it should slide out. Alright, and after a little bit of wiggling and jiggling, gearbox pops out like that. Alright, just going to pop this gearbox apart. Worth noting that on the Gen 9 there is a lone single screw on the back side of the gearbox that you have to undo here. And then once you've undone that, all the rest of them are on this side. Now don't forget to take your spring out of the back of the gearbox before you undo all the screws, because otherwise you're going to be chasing parts all over the floor. Now in this case the plunger is all the way back, so that's probably the worst case scenario, to try and remove the spring when the plunger is all the way back. So I'm just going to tweak this a little bit. I'll probably edit this part into fast forward so that you don't hear what's going on anyway. Although people want to know, people want to watch this. Okay, so once all your screws are removed, you should be able to split your gearbox. Take the top half of the shell off. And you can see there's your standard gears, non-return spring, and the standard bushes and shims. Alright, we're going to take all this out because we're replacing most of it. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is remove the standard bushings. So you can get a punch, or I'm using a Allen driver bit to just push them out. And then do the same on the bottom half of the shell as well. Alright, now that I've punched out all the bushings, I'm going to replace them with the ball bearings that were supplied in the kit. But while I'm here, I'm going to pull this trigger out as well, because we're going to be putting the metal trigger in. Now this trigger's a bit of a bone of contention, because a lot of people think that it's faulty because it slides off of this trolley if pushed too hard. It's not faulty, it's just the way it's designed. Alright, so there's the two triggers. That's the metal one, that's the plastic one. I'm just going to swap the spring from the plastic one onto the metal one, because the kit doesn't come with a spring. They break. Just got to make sure that your safety is up out of the way. And pop this back in, and not have the spring fall out. Alright, so that trigger's in there now. Make sure it's all lined up with the trolley. Fortunately, the Gen 9s are a bit easier to put in than the Gen 8. Just make sure your safety stays up out of the way, particularly when you're reassembling the gearbox. At the moment it's probably going to slide down there like that, that's okay. When you're putting the gearbox back together, just make sure that slides back up. Alright, so I'm just going to pop the ball bearings in. Into the shell. And then I'm going to shim this gearbox. Now I'm not going to film the process of shimming the gearbox because I've filmed it several times before and it is long and boring. So if you are looking for a shimming video, you can check out my other shimming video, but I'm not going to shim this one on camera. Okay, so now I've done all the shimming on these gears. I'm just going to put the cylinder head into the cylinder and pop the piston and the plunger into the cylinder. Just check the seal on it too. Yep, that's a good, nice, tight seal. Okay, so I've decided that I'm not going to use the metal tappet plate that they provided in the kit. I'm going to use this nylon tappet plate instead, because I've had not a lot of luck when using the metal tappet plates, and so I think this nylon one is just as good. I've not had any issues with these breaking, so I'm just going to reuse the standard one. So I've just tried to fit this cylinder in, and it just seems like it's a little bit too big to fit in the gearbox, and it seems to be this cylinder head. The cylinder head just seems to be maybe a millimeter or something too big. So when I put the standard Gen 9 cylinder head on this cylinder, it just pops in quite easily, and everything's, there we go, that just fits in perfectly and everything's fine. However, this cylinder head that came with the kit, double O-ring, when I pop it in there, push it down as far down as it'll go, it just doesn't want to fit in. If the front fits in, then the back sits up, and if you do it the other way, if you put the back in, then the front doesn't go in. So as nice as this cylinder head was, without modifying the cylinder by like shaving maybe 0.5 millimeter off the back of it, I can't actually use it. I tried the new cylinder head, I tried to get it in, and it just would not fit. I tried a number of different things to try and get it to fit, and it just would not fit. So I'm reverting to using the standard cylinder and the standard cylinder head with the upgraded plunger, and hopefully that should give us some good compression. Unfortunately, yeah, the aftermarket cylinder head just was not fitting on. It just wouldn't fit into this gearbox, no matter what I did, and without modifying the cylinder or the gearbox, it wasn't going to fit in. I ended up damaging the cylinder trying to get the cylinder head to fit in there, so yeah, I can't use that anymore. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing. So basically, of this whole kit so far, all I'm going to be using is the nozzle, the plunger, and the gears and the trigger. I'm not using the tappet plate or the cylinder head. Oh, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Alright, moving along anyway. I'm going to reassemble the gearbox with all our new parts, sans the cylinder and the cylinder head. Okay, gearbox reassembled now. I'm just going to pop the new upgraded spring inside and then put the new spring retainer in. Now I'm just going to do this by hand, which is probably not the recommended way. Probably want to do it with some sort of screwdriver or something. Alright, now that I've got that in, seat it properly with a screwdriver. Now, aluminium barrel is very easy to install. Just get your upper receiver that we took apart earlier on. Slide out the standard nylon on and slide in the aluminium one. Alright, so I've got everything assembled again. Standard cylinder and cylinder head, upgraded plunger and nozzle. I'm going to put the motor in, got the upgraded motor. Not quite sure what the specs on the motor are, but the motor just goes up into the grip up in here like that, and then wires just attach onto the terminals. And then you need to get the motor plate to house the motor inside the pistol grip. Alright, so once the motor is installed in here, you have to adjust your motor depth so that you don't get the grinding sound. You don't want it to be too tight or too loose. Now I'm just going to tighten it up so you can hear when it's a bit tight, what it sounds like. See how that doesn't sound real good? You just slacken it off a little bit, and then you can hear that it's a nice non-grindy sound. So if you wind it out too far, you'll probably hear the opposite, which is starting to get grindy on the outside, too loose. So you don't want it too tight and you don't want it too loose. That's about the spot there. So I'm back out at the chrono with the Gen 9 with most of the upgrades in it. Now, look, this kit, I gotta be honest, was the worst kit I've ever used in a gel blaster. The cylinder was too small or too big. The cylinder head, or the cylinder itself was alright. The cylinder head was too big. The nozzle was a really poor seal. I couldn't get a good seal on it. From the nozzle to the T-piece. At first it seemed alright, but no, it just wouldn't fire. It was just dropping gels out the barrel. I basically ended up pulling the whole thing apart, replacing the nozzle with the stock one, replacing the cylinder with the stock one, and the tappet plate with the stock one. Look, the only parts of this kit that I ended up using was the spring retainer, the motor, the trigger, and I didn't even end up using the alloy barrel because I took that out as well because it was too short. It was just a couple of inches too short, and so I don't have I don't have a high opinion of this kit, let's put it that way. But let's chuck this thing on the chrono now and see what we get. Alright, here we go. And I'll just flick that through to... Alright, so you can see 310, 307, just upwards of 300, around the 300 FPS mark. 313 there, and I'm out of balls. But yeah, so in terms of power upgrade, basically the spring and the metal gears is basically all we used in this. Oh, and the motor as well, obviously, giving it a faster fire rate. But I could have probably done this upgrade with just a motor and gears and a spring and been done with it. I'm not sure it's worth getting the entire kit, to be honest. I'm sorry, Gelball Mod, but that's my honest opinion. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and buy me a coffee. I'm going to put a link down to this kit in the description, so you can still get it if you choose to. It's not a total loss, but yeah, I think you could probably do better with just a spring and a motor and some gears. Alright, I'll catch you later. It's all from me. See ya.